great thing.
Thank you. President Biden?
It's been a terrible thing. That's this idea that they're all against it is just ridiculous. And this is the guy who says the state should be able to have it. We're in a state where in 6 weeks, you don't even know whether you're pregnant or not, but you cannot see a doctor, and have him decide on what your circumstances are, whether you need help. The idea that states are able to do this is a little like saying we're going to turn civil rights back to the states, let each state have a different rule. Look, there's so many young women a young woman who just was murdered, and he went to the funeral. She was murdered by an immigrant coming in. They talk about that, but here's the deal: there's a lot of young women who are being raped by their in-laws, by their spouses.
No sound.
There have been many young women murdered by the same people he allows to come across our border. We have a border that's the most dangerous place anywhere in the world, considered the most dangerous place anywhere in the world. And he opened it up, and these killers are coming into our country, and they are raping and killing women. And it's a terrible thing. As far as the abortion is concerned, it is now back with the states. The states are voting. In many cases, it's frankly a very liberal decision. In many cases, it's the opposite. But they're voting, and it's bringing it back to the vote of the people, which is what everybody wanted, including the founders, if they knew about this issue, which frankly they didn't. But they would have. Everybody wanted brought back. Ronald Reagan wanted it brought back. He wasn't able to get it. Everybody wanted it brought back, and many presidents had tried to get it back. I was the one to do it. And again, this gives it the vote of the people, and that's where they wanted it. Every legal scholar wanted it that way.
Staying on the topic of abortion, President Biden, 7 states, I'll let you do that. This is the same topic. 7 states have no legal restrictions on how far into a pregnancy a woman can obtain an abortion. Do you support any legal limits on how late a woman should be able to terminate a pregnancy?
I support Roe v. Wade, which had 3 trimesters. First time is between the woman and the doctor. Second time is between the doctor and an extreme situation. The third time is between the doctor, between the woman and the state. The idea that the politicians, that the founders wanted the politicians to be the ones making decisions about women's health is ridiculous. That's the last. No politician should be making that decision. A doctor should be making those decisions. That's how it should be run. That's what you're going to do. And if I'm elected, I'm going to restore Roe v. Wade.
So that means he can take the life of the baby in the 9th month and even after birth, because some states, Democrat run, take it after birth. Again, the former governor of Virginia, put the baby down, then we decide what to do with it. So he's willing to, as we say, rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month and kill the baby. Nobody wants that to happen, Democrat or Republican. Nobody wants it to happen.
That is simply not true. The Roe v. Wade does not provide for that. That's not the circumstance. Only if a woman's life is in danger, she's going to die. That's the only circumstance in which that can happen. But we are not for late-term abortion, period. Period.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years. And it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
Thank you.
Let's turn now to the issue of immigration and border security. President Biden, a record number of migrants have illegally crossed the southern border on your watch. Overwhelming border states and overburdening cities such as New York and Chicago, and in some cases causing real safety and security concerns. Given that, why should voters trust you to solve this crisis?
We worked very hard to get a bipartisan agreement that not only changed all of that, it made sure that we are in a situation where You had no circumstance where they could come across the border with the number of border police there are now.
Sorry, guys.
We
We already
significantly increased the number of
debate.
asylum officers. Significantly. By the way, the Border Patrol endorsed my position. In addition to that, we found ourselves in a situation where when he was president, he was separating babies from their mothers, putting them in cages, making sure the families were separated. That's not the right way to go. What I've done since I've changed the law, what's happened? I've changed it in a way that now you're in a situation where there are 40% fewer people coming across the border illegally. It's better than when he left office. And I'm going to continue to move until we get the total ban on the total initiative relative to what we can do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country. The border, all he had to do was leave it. All he had to do was leave it. He decided to open up our border, open up our country to people that are from prisons, people that are from mental institutions, insane asylum, terrorists. We have the largest number of terrorists coming into our country right now, all terrorists, all over the world, not just in South America, all over the world. They come from the Middle East, everywhere, all over the world, they're pouring in. And this guy just left it open. And he didn't need legislation because I didn't have legislation. I said, close the border. We had the safest border in history. In that final couple of months of my presidency, we had, according to Border Patrol, who is great, and by the way, who endorsed me for president, but I won't say that. He endorsed me for president. Brandon, just speak to him. But look, we had the safest border in history. Now we have the worst border in history. There's never been anything like it. And people are dying all over the place, including the people that are coming up in caravans.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
The only terrorist who's done anything across the border is one who came along and killed three, under his administration, killed Al-Qaeda person come in his administration, killed three American soldiers. That's the only terrorist that's there. I'm not saying that no terrorist ever got through, but the idea they're emptying their prisons, we're welcoming these people, that's simply not true. There's no data to support what he said. Once again, he's exaggerating, he's lying.
Modern cars.
President Trump, staying on the topic of immigration, you said that you're going to carry out, quote, the largest domestic deportation operation in American history, unquote. Does that mean that you will deport every undocumented immigrant in America, including those who have jobs, including those whose spouses are citizens, and including those who have lived here for decades? And if so, how will you do it?
Just 1 second. He said we killed three people. The people we killed are al-Baghdadi and Soleimani, the two greatest terrorists, biggest terrorists anywhere in the world. And it had a huge impact on everything, not just border, on everything. He's the one that killed people with a bad water, including hundreds of thousands of people dying and also killing our citizens when they come in. We are living right now in a rat's nest. They're killing our people in New York, in California, in every state in the union, because we don't have borders anymore. Every state is now a border. And because of his ridiculous, insane, and very stupid policies, people are coming in and they're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen. We call it migrant crime. I call it Biden migrant crime. They're killing our citizens at a level that we've never seen before. And you're reading it like these three incredible young girls over the last few days. One of them, I just spoke to the mother, and he just had the funeral for this girl, 12 years old. This is horrible what's taken place. What's taken place in our country, we're literally an uncivilized country now. He doesn't want it to be. He just doesn't know. He opened the borders. Nobody's ever seen anything like. And we have to get a lot of these people out, and we have to get them out fast because they're going to destroy our country. Just take a look at where they're living. They're living in luxury hotels in New York City and other places. Our veterans are on the street. They're dying because he doesn't care about our veterans. He doesn't care. He doesn't like the military at all. And he doesn't care about our veterans. Nobody been worse. I had the highest approval rating for veterans taking care of the VA. He has the worst. He's gotten rid of all the things that I approved. Choice that I got through Congress, all of the different things I approved, they abandoned. We had by far the highest, and now it's down in less than half because he's done all these great things that we did. And I think he did it just because I approved it, which is crazy. But he has killed so many people at our border by allowing all of these people to come in. And it's a very sad day.
President Biden, you have the mic.
Every single thing he said is a lie. Every single one. For example, Veterans are a hell of a lot better off since I passed the PACT Act.
Really? Ask
1 million of them now have insurance, and their families have it. Their families have it because what happened, whether it was Agent Orange or burn pits, they're all being covered now. And his group opposed that. We're also in a situation where we have great respect for veterans. My son spent a year in Iraq, living right next to one of those burn pits, came back with stage 4 glioblastoma.
Got in
I
there.
was recently in France for D-Day, and I spoke all about those heroes that died. I went to the World War II cemetery, World War I cemetery he refused to go to. He was standing with his 4-star general, and he told me, he said, I don't want to go in there because they're a bunch of losers and suckers. My son was not a loser, was not a sucker. You're the sucker. You're the loser.
President Trump?
First of all, that was a made-up quote, suckers and losers. They made it up. It was in a third-rate magazine that's failing, like many of these magazines. He made that up.
Behind the
He
bar.
put it in commercials. We've notified him. We had 19 people that said I didn't say it. And think of this. Who would say I'm at a cemetery or I'm talking about our veterans? Because nobody's taken better care. I'm so glad this came up and he brought it up. There's nobody that's taken better care of our soldiers than I have. To think that I would, in front of generals and others, say suckers and losers. We have 19 people that said it was never said by me. It was made up by him, just like Russia was made up, just like the 51 intelligence agents are made up, just like the new thing with the 16 economists are talking. It's the same thing. 51 intelligence agents said that the laptop was Russia disinformation. It wasn't. That came from his son, Hunter. It wasn't Russia disinformation. He made up the suckers and losers, so he should apologize to me right now.
4-star general standing to your side who was on your staff who said you said it, period. That's number one. And number two, the idea that I have to apologize to you for anything along the line. We've done more for veterans than any president has in American history.
Name.
And they now are in their family. The only sacred obligation we have as a country is to care for our veterans when they come home and their families and equip them when they go to war. That's what we're doing. That's what the VA is doing now. They're doing more for veterans than ever before in our history.
All right. Thank you so much.
Let's move to the topic of foreign policy. I want to begin with Russia's war against Ukraine, which is now in its 3rd year. Former President Trump, Russian President Vladimir Putin says he'll only end this war if Russia keeps the Ukrainian territory it has already claimed and Ukraine abandons its bid to join NATO. Are Putin's terms acceptable to you?
First of all, our veterans and our soldiers can't stand this guy. They can't stand him. They think he's the worst commander-in-chief, if that's what you call him, that we've ever had. They can't stand him. So let's get that straight. And they like me more than just about any of them.
Check that. That's true.
And that's based on every single bit of information. As far as Russia and Ukraine, if we had a real president, the president that knew, that was respected by Putin,
Good evening.
he would have never invaded Ukraine. A lot of people are dead right now, much more than people know. You know, they talk about numbers. You can double those numbers, maybe triple those numbers. He did nothing to stop it. In fact, I think he encouraged Russia from going in. I'll tell you what happened. He was so bad with Afghanistan. It was such a horrible embarrassment, most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, that when Putin watched that and he saw the incompetence, that he should have fired those generals, like I fired the one that you mentioned. And so he's got no love lost, but he should have fired those generals. No general got fired for the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country, Afghanistan, where we left billions of dollars of equipment behind. We lost 13 beautiful soldiers and 38 soldiers were obliterated. And by the way, we left people behind too. We left American citizens behind. When Putin saw that, he said, you know what? I think we're going to go in and maybe take this was his dream. I talked to him about it, his dream. The difference is he never would have invaded Ukraine, never. Just like Israel would have never been invaded in a million years by Hamas. You know why? Because Iran was broke with me. I wouldn't let anybody do business with them. They ran out of money. They were broke. They had no money for Hamas. They had no money for anything, no money for terror. That's why you had no terror at all during my administration. This place, the whole world is blowing up under him.
President Biden?
I've never heard so much malarkey in my whole life. Look, the fact of the matter is that we're in a situation where, let's take the last point first. Iran attacked American troops, caused brain damage for a number of these troops, and he did nothing about it.
He damaged
Not when he was
people's
president.
brain
Here
damage.
they attacked. He said they're just having headaches. That's all it is. He didn't do a thing when the attack took place, number one. Number two, we got over 100,000 Americans and others out of Afghanistan during that era. Number three, we found ourselves in a situation where if you take a look at what Trump did in Ukraine, this guy told Trump, do whatever you want, do whatever you want. And that's exactly what Trump did to Putin, encourage him, do whatever you want. And he went in. And listen to what he said when he went in. He was going to take Kyiv in 5 days, remember? Because it's part of the old Soviet Union. That's what he wanted to reestablish, Kyiv. And he, in fact, didn't do it at all. He wasn't able to get it done. And they've lost thousands and thousands of troops, 500,000 troops.
Evening, Jared.
President Trump, for 1 minute, I just want to go back to my original question, which is, are Putin's terms acceptable to you? Keeping the territory in Ukraine?
No, they're not acceptable. But look, this is a war that never should have started. If we had a leader in this war, he led everybody along. He's given $200 billion now or more to Ukraine. He's given $200 billion. That's a lot of money. I don't think there's ever been anything like it. Every time that Zelensky comes to this country, he walks away with $60 billion. He's the greatest salesman ever. And I'm not knocking him. I'm not knocking anything. I'm only saying the money that we're spending on this war, and we shouldn't be spending, it should have never happened. I will have that war settled between Putin and Zelensky as president-elect before I take office on January 20th. I'll have that war settled.
With that road score,
People
Paul
being
Gale,
killed so
Leonard.
so stupidly. And
I think we
will
lost
get
a
it
couple
settled.
already.
I'll get it settled
Just
fast
yet.
before I take office.
That's all right.
You
President
know,
Biden, you have a minute.
the fact is that Putin is a war criminal. He's killed thousands and thousands of people. And he has made one thing clear. He wants to reestablish what was part of the Soviet Empire, not just a piece. He wants all of Ukraine. That's what he wants. And then you think he'll stop there? Do you think he'll stop when if he takes Ukraine? What do you think happens to Poland? What do you think of Belarus? What do you think happens to those NATO countries? And so if you want a war, you ought to find out what he's going to do, because if in fact he does what he says and walks away, by the way, all that money we give Ukraine are from weapons we make here in the United States. We give them the weapons, not the money at this point. And our NATO allies have produced as much funding for Ukraine as we have. That's why we're strong.
Thank you. Moving on to the Middle East. In October, Hamas attacked Israel, killing more than 1,000 people and taking hundreds of hostages. Among those held and thought to still be alive are 5 Americans. Israel's response has killed thousands of Palestinians and created a humanitarian crisis in Gaza. President Biden, you've put forward a proposal to resolve this conflict, but so far Hamas has not released
Not much road score. I'm just in here.
Israel is continuing
I don't
its
know. Hang out
military
with you.
offensive in Gaza.
Watch Joe
So
Biden
what
poop his
additional
pants.
leverage will you use to get Hamas and Israel to end the war? You have 2 minutes.
Number one, everyone from the United Nations Security Council straight through to the G7 to the Israelis and Netanyahu himself have endorsed the plan I put forward, which has 3 stages to it. The first stage is trade the hostages for a ceasefire. Second phase is a ceasefire with additional conditions. The third phase is the end of the war. The only one who wants the war to continue is Hamas. Number one, they're the only ones standing out. We're still pushing hard to get them to accept. In the meantime, what's happened? In Israel, we're finding that the only thing I've denied Israel was 2,000-pound bombs. They don't work very well in populated areas. They kill a lot of innocent people. We're providing Israel with all the weapons they need and when they need them. And by the way, I'm the guy that organized the world against Iran when they had a full-blown intercontinental ballistic missile attack on Israel. No one was hurt. No one Israeli was accidentally killed, and it just stopped. We saved Israel. We are the biggest producer of support for Israel of anyone in the world. And so they're 2 different things. Hamas cannot be allowed to be continued. We continue to send our experts and our intelligence
commercials
to how they can get Hamas like we did bin Laden. You don't have to do it. And by the way, they've been greatly weakened, Hamas, greatly weakened, and they should be. They should be eliminated. But you've got to be careful for what using certain weapons among population centers.
Just going back to Ukraine for 1 second. We have an ocean separating us. The European nations together have spent 100 billion, or maybe more than that, less than us. Why doesn't he call them and say, you got to put up your money like I did with NATO? I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. The Secretary General of NATO said Trump did the most incredible job I've ever seen. They wouldn't have any, they were going out of business. We were spending almost 100% of the money was
They were
paid by
going out of
us.
business.
He didn't do that. He's getting all, you got to ask these people to put up the money. We're over $100 billion more spent, and it has a bigger impact on them because of location, because we have an ocean in between. You got to ask them. As far as Israel and Hamas, Israel's the one that wants to go. He said the only one that wants to keep going is Hamas. Actually, Israel is the one, and you should let him go and let him finish the job. He doesn't want to do it. He's become like a Palestinian, but they don't like him because he's a very bad Palestinian. He's a weak one.
President Biden, you have a minute.
This guy who wants to get out of NATO. You're going to stay in NATO? He's going to pull out of NATO.
Yeah.
The idea that we have, our strength lies in our alliances as well. There may be a big ocean, but we're ever able to avoid a war in Europe, a major war in Europe?
Raul.
What happens if, in fact, you have Putin continue to go into NATO? We have an Article 5 agreement. Attack on
Hey, what's up, Raul?
more. You want to start the nuclear war he keeps talking about, go ahead. Let Putin go in and control Ukraine and then move on to Poland and other places. See what happens then. He has no idea what the hell he's talking about. And by the way, I got 50 other nations around the world to support Ukraine, including Japan and South Korea, because they understand that this kind of dislocation has a serious threat to the whole world peace. No major war in Europe has ever been able to be contained just to Europe.
President Trump, just to follow up, would you support the creation of an independent Palestinian state in order to achieve peace in the region?
I'd have to see, but before we do that, the problem we have is that we spend all the money. So they kill us on trade. I made great trade deals with the European nations because if you add them up, they're about the same size economically. Their economy is about the same size as the United States. And they were no cars, no, they don't want anything that we have, but we're supposed to take their cars, their food, their everything, their agriculture. I changed that. But the big thing I changed is they don't want to pay. And the only reason that he can play games with NATO is because I got them to put up hundreds of billions of dollars. I said, and he's right about this, I said, no, I'm not going to support NATO if you don't pay. They asked me that question, would you guard us against Russia? At a very secret meeting of the 28 states at that time, nations at that time. And they said, no, if you don't pay, I won't do that. And you know what happened? Billions and billions of dollars came flowing in the next day and the next months. But now we're in the same position. We're paying everybody's bills.
Let's turn to the issue of democracy. Former President Trump, I want to ask you about January 6, 2021. You rallied your supporters that day. Some of them stormed the Capitol to stop the constitutionally mandated counting of electoral votes. As president, you swore an oath to, quote, preserve, protect, and defend, unquote, the Constitution. What do you say to voters who believe that you violated that oath through your actions and inaction on January 6th and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I don't think too many believe that. And let me tell you about January 6th. On January 6th, we had a great border. Nobody coming through, very few. On January 6th, we were energy independent. On January 6th, we had the lowest taxes ever. We had the lowest regulations ever. On January 6th, we were respected all over the world. All over the world, we were respected. And then he comes in, and we're now laughed at. We're like a bunch of stupid people. That what happened to the United States' reputation under this man's leadership is horrible, including weaponization, which I'm sure at some point you'll be talking about, where he goes after his political opponent because he can't beat him fair and square.
You have 80 seconds left. My question was, what do you say to those voters who believe that you violated your constitutional oath through your actions and inaction on January 6, 2021, and worry that you'll do it again?
Well, I didn't say that to anybody. I said peacefully and patriotically. And Nancy Pelosi, if you just watched the news from 2 days ago, on tape to her daughter, who's a documentary filmmaker, they say.
That's a question
but she's
that
saying,
includes.
oh, no, it's my responsibility. I was responsible for this. because I offered her 10,000 soldiers or National Guard,
Proven lie.
and she turned them down. And the mayor of, in writing, by the way, the mayor, in writing, turned it down. The mayor of D.C. They turned it down. I offered 10,000 because I could see I had virtually nothing to do. They asked me to go make a speech. I could see what was happening. Everybody was saying they're going to be there on January 6th. They're going to be there. And I said, you know what? There's a lot of people coming. You could feel it. You could feel it too, and you could feel it. And I said, they ought to have some National Guard or whatever. And I offered it to her. And she now admits that she turned it down. And it was the same day she was, I don't know, she can't be very happy with her daughter because it made her into a liar.
Mr. Trump,
she said,
why
I
did
take
you
full
run out on the wall that
responsibility
day and
for
stop
January
fucking
6th.
rednecks?
President Biden?
Hey, will you do it again?
Look, he
Will you
encouraged
do it
those
again?
folks to go up on Capitol Hill.
Goddamn right you do it again.
I sat in the dining room off the Oval Office. He sat there for 3 hours watching, begging, being begged by his vice president and a number of his colleagues on the Republican side as well to do something, to call for a stop, to end it. Instead, they talked about these people being patriots and great patrons of America. In fact, he says he'll now forgive them for what they've done. They've been convicted. He says he wants to commute their sentences and say that no, he went to
Not
every
true.
single court in the nation.
That's not true.
I don't know how many
Said
cases, scores of cases, including the Supreme Court. And they said, no, this guy is responsible for doing what was done. He did do a damn thing. And these people should be in jail. And they should be the ones who are being held accountable. And he wants to let them all out. And now he says if he loses again, such a whiner that he is, that it could be a bloodbath.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump?
What they've done to some people that are so innocent, you ought to be ashamed of yourself. What you have done, how you've destroyed the lives of so many people. When they ripped down Portland, when they ripped down many other cities, you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, what they've done there.
I do like how they laid the president on the Republicans.
That city would have been.
It is a left wing who does most of this marching.
They took
It's
over.
going to
big
hurt
chunks of
them
Seattle.
more.
I was all
I
set to
assure
bring in
you.
the National Guard. They heard that. They saw them coming, and they left immediately.
Yeah.
What I said about
I agree with
this
that.
whole subject is
Dude,
so
my old lady still believes she's seen guns that day. Still
the
thinks that.
Select
Really?
Committee, which is
Yeah.
basically two horrible Republicans that are all
Fine.
gone now, out of office, and Democrats, all
I
Democrats.
can't disprove it to her. I can't make her not believe
all of the
that.
information
No.
they found because they
Now,
found
apparently,
out we
all
were
those
right.
rednecks.
We were right. And they deleted and destroyed
Bring
all
their
of the
gun.
information. They should go to jail for that.
Isn't
If a
that
Republican
amazing?
did that, they'd go to
Thank
jail.
you, President Trump. President Biden, I want to give you a minute.
The only person on this stage is a convicted felon is the man I'm looking at right now. And the fact of the matter is, what he's telling you is simply not true. The fact is that there was no effort on his part to stop what was going on up in Capitol Hill. And all those people, every one of those who were convicted, just turned over
Come on up,
desks,
Raul, and hang out with
turning
us.
over statues.
Give us some
The
banter.
idea that those people are patriots.
Come on.
When I asked him the first two debates we had, first time around,
Phantom.
I said, will you denounce the Proud Boys? He said, no, I'll tell them to stand by. The idea he's refusing, will you denounce these guys? You denounce the people we're talking about now? You denounce the people who attacked that Capitol? What are you going to do?
I'm going to give you a minute, President Trump, for a follow-up question I have.
What did you just say?
After a jury convicted you of 34 felonies last month, you said if reelected, you would, quote, have every right to go after, unquote, your political opponents. You just talked about members of the Select Committee on January 6th going to jail. Your main political opponent is standing on stage with you tonight. Can you clarify exactly what it means about you saying you have every right to go after your political opponents?
Well, I said my retribution is going to be success. We're going to make this country successful again, because right now it's a failing nation. My retribution is going to be success. But when he talks about a convicted felon, his son is a convicted felon at a very high level. His son is convicted, going to be convicted probably numerous other times. Should have been convicted before, but his Justice Department let the statute of limitations lapse on the most important things. But he could be a convicted felon as soon as he gets out of office. Joe could be a convicted felon with all of the things that he's done. He's done horrible things. All of the death caused at the border, telling the Ukrainian people that we're going to want $1 billion or you change the prosecutor. Otherwise, you're not getting $1 billion. If I ever said that, that's quid pro quo. That we're not going to do anything. We're not going to give you $1 billion unless you change your prosecutor having to do with the son. This man is a criminal. This man, you're lucky. You're lucky. I did nothing wrong. We'd have a system that was rigged and disgusting. I did nothing wrong.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden, you have said, I'm coming right to you, sir. Well, you want to respond? Go ahead. I'll give you a minute to respond.
The idea
It's
that I did anything wrong relative to what you're talking about is outrageous.
it's a character.
It's simply a lie.
It's
Number
about
one.
their character.
Number two,
You
the
know,
idea that you have a right to seek
policies.
retribution against any
So
American
far, it's
just because you're president is wrong.
been
It's
mudslinging.
simply wrong. No president's ever spoken like that before.
It's mudslinging.
No president in our history has spoken like that before. Number three, the crimes that you are still charged with, and think of all the civil penalties you have. How many billions of dollars do you owe in civil penalties for molesting a woman in
Our only
public,
hope is that
or doing a whole range of things,
Ground.
of having sex with a porn star on the night while your wife was
Well, it's
pregnant?
not our only hope, but
Well, what are you talking
it's something
about?
to hope for.
You have the morals of an alley cat.
Joe will just have a stroke,
Give you a minute, sir.
freak out.
I didn't have
We're
sex with a
fucking
porn
debate.
star, number one.
We're fucking.
Number two, that was a case that was started and moved. They moved a
And he'd be
high-ranking
very
official, a
fast.
DOJ, into the Manhattan DA's office to start that case. That case is going to be appealed and won. We had a very terrible judge, a horrible judge, Democrat. The prosecutor were all high-ranking Democrats, appointed people, and both the civil
There's no real
and the
real
criminal.
information.
He basically went after
Anything
his
he
political opponent
says.
because he thought it was going to damage me. But when the public found out about these cases, because they understand it better than he does, he has no idea what these cases are. But when they found out about these cases, you know what they did? My poll numbers went up, way up. You know that because you're reporting it. And we took in more money in the last 2 weeks than we've ever taken in the history of any campaign. I don't think any campaign has ever taken. Hundreds of millions of dollars came pouring in because the public knows it's a scam, and it's a guy that's after his political opponent because he can't win fair and square.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden,
It's
you have said,
unprecedented.
quote, Donald
Never
Trump
been
and
done
his
before
MAGA
to any
Republicans
president.
are determined to destroy American democracy. Do you believe that the tens of millions of Americans who are likely to vote for President Trump will be voting against American democracy?
The more they know about what he's done,
Well,
yes.
we don't have a
The more they
democracy.
know
I
about
hate
what
when
he's
fucking
done.
people say that.
And there's a lot more
It's a
coming.
goddamn republic. We absolutely do not have democracy.
He's got a whole range of issues
The
he has to face.
Democratic.
I don't know what the juries will do, but I do know he has a real problem.
We have fucked with
And so
words
the
until
fact
fucking
that-
they don't mean the
Did you
same
ever
shit
think you hear
anymore.
any president say
That's true.
that I'm going to seek retribution? You ever hear any?
You know that's
president
why
say
Webster
that
wrote the dictionary.
thought Hitler had some good ideas?
It was about
It
politics
got
and
me
law.
involved to run the first
It's so you
Senate.
wouldn't
My
change the
Senate
fucking
guy that decided
definition of the
in
goddamn
Iraq
word you
because
wrote
of
on the
Iraq.
paper.
I said I wasn't going to run again until I saw what happened in
Yeah.
Charlottesville, Virginia.
And now
People
that's
coming out of the woods
James
carrying
did that
swastikas
exact thing.
on torches, and singing the same anti-Semitic bile they sang
They even
when-
making up words.
back in Germany. And the young woman got killed. I spoke to
We
the
vote
mother.
for people who
And
vote for
They
people.
asked him. They said, "What do you think of those people? The people the ones who got killed, the one who tried to stop it, and the ones," he said, "I think they're fine people on both sides." What American president would ever say
But the president.
Nazis coming out of fields
whole
carrying
nation,
torches,
you know?
singing the same
He's
anti-Semitic
the
bile?
moderator
carrying
of all this
swastikas.
shit.
We're fine people.
Fucking the guy.
This is the guy who says Hitler's done some good things. I'd like to know what they are. Good things Hitler's done. That's what he said. This guy has no sense of American democracy.
President Trump.
Jake, both of you know that sir has been totally wiped out because when you see the sentence, it said 100% exoneration on that. So he just keeps it going. He says he ran because of Charlottesville. He didn't run because of Charlottesville. He ran because it was his last chance. He's not equipped to be president. You know it, and I know it. It's ridiculous. We have a debate. We're trying to justify his presidency. His presidency, he's without question the worst president, the worst presidency in the history of our country.
Hoover.
We shouldn't be having a debate
And
about it.
Hoover
There's
that
nothing to
collapsed
debate.
on?
He
Truman.
made up the
Was
Charlottesville
it Truman that
story.
it collapsed
And
on?
you'll see it's debunked all over the place. Every anchor has, every reasonable anchor
29
has
in 29.
debunked it. And just the other day it came out where it was fully debunked. It's a nonsense story. He knows that. And he didn't run because of Charlottesville. He used that as an excuse to run.
Or whoever came
President Biden.
before us.
Debunked. It happened. All you have to do is listen to what was said at the time. And the idea that somehow that's the only reason I ran. I ran because I was worried a guy like this guy could get elected. If he thought they were good people coming out of that forest, carrying those woods, carrying those torches, then he didn't deserve to be president. Didn't deserve to be president at all. And the idea that he's talking about all this being fabricated, we saw with our own eyes. We saw what happened on January 6th.
Imagine being
We
80
saw the
years
people
old
breaking
without
through
wanting to
windows.
retire.
We saw people occupying his own vice president. Look, there's a reason why 40 of his 44
Trump
top
didn't give his fortune
cabinet
to his kids
officers
either.
refused to endorse him this time. His vice president hasn't endorsed him this time.
Apparently,
why?
nobody
Why?
ever
They
let
know him
go.
well. They serve with him. Why are they not endorsing him?
Thank you, President Biden. We're going to be right back with more from the CNN presidential debate.
All right, commercial.
Yeah, cut them in half or mute it. Oh, put it at that for a minute. They were speaking louder than us. Maybe it should have only been on 3/4, I guess.
Hang on a second.
Rawls said he was going to come up here in a few.
Well, how do you score them so far? How do you think they're doing?
They're standing. We'll see.
You're not
standing.
a fan of the elderly. You're not very nice to elderly people.
Oh, but they're going to go run over and sit down for each commercial break, though, aren't they?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably got
I
some,
bet you money a guy comes out there and puts a stool behind both of them to sit down.
that's what I was just gonna say.
Just like a fighter.
And gives them a drink too. Brings them a drink. They got some broad that's sponging Joe
With a
off.
towel, dabbing him.
Fucking yeah, they're like, yeah. Comb his hair. They gotta comb Trump's hair every commercial. Cecilia,
Kick my ass.
how you doing? Come on the show with us if you wanna get in on the fun. We're here. We're not doing a whole lot of laughing. We're doing a lot of listening. I think we're trying to listen as much as we can to what each candidate has to say. I really want to hear what they have to say.
Chris can't believe I'm even in here listening to it because I don't normally.
Not that any of it's really going to be that interesting, but we just never know what kind of good shit might happen during this, and it is live. That's the best.
I will say both of them make epic gaffes. Epic. I can't deny that both of them can leave the biggest gaff ever.
I haven't heard a lot of gaffes from Trump. I have never heard Trump go.
Oh, the sunshine. The sunshine during COVID was fucking gorgeous. And the bleach one.
Yeah, that was not actually true though. Those were they twisted his words. They twisted.
It was twisted, but it was close enough. He was in jest talking to her.
No, you're
and
either
she was over there.
You're either quoting
swimming.
someone or you're not. You're either quoting someone or you're not. And
it was a quote. No, it was a quote. He said it.
There are things that are said that are not meant literally. There's a word for that. What do they call that? Shit. I forget what it's called now, but people say shit. They don't mean it literally. Like I could say, "Damn it,
I totally. That's what I
I'm
would
going
say.
to scare you, man." Right? But I would not fucking actually be meaning that. That's it's an expression. It's
Everybody knows it is one. He looked over at her when he said it. You're supposed to smile and laugh.
Okay, here they come. They're coming back again.
He's got great comedic timing when he's on stage by himself in that way.
Got too many screens.
What is it?
Here.
What do you say to black voters who are disappointed that
Did
you
you hear
haven't
the
made more
audio?
progress?
They acknowledge they made a lot of progress, number one. The fact of the matter is, there's more small black businesses that have been started than any time in history. Number two, the wages of black unemployment is the lowest level it's been in a long, long time. They're trying to provide housing for black Americans and dealing with the segregation that exists among these corporate corporations that collude
Oh, it's
to keep
over,
people
dude.
out of their houses. In addition to that, we find that the impact on the choice that black families have to make relative to childcare is incredibly difficult. When we did the first major piece of legislation in the past, I was able to reduce black childcare costs. I cut them in half.
Why?
Huh?
We got
Why
to make sure we provide
blacks?
for childcare costs.
There's no such
and
thing,
make
dude.
sure because when
There's
you
no such
provide
thing
those
as that.
childcare protections, you increase economic growth because more people can be in the job market. So there's more to be done.
What's wrong with
Considerably more to be
everybody
done.
instead of just
But
making
we've
it about
done a
one
great deal
race?
so far.
Why is
and I'm not
everything
letting
about
up
one
and they know.
race?
You have 49
We
seconds
want
left.
people.
He
What
thought
do
that was
you
going to
say to
help.
black
There's
voters
no
who are
words he said that
disappointed
was
with the
true.
progress so far?
I say I don't blame them for being disappointed. Inflation is still hurting them badly. For example, I provided for the idea that any black family
We're
first-time
helping
homeowner
out. We're
should get
helping to
$10,000
make
tax
your
credit to be able to buy their first home, so they can get
we're helping
started.
you buy your
We
first
made sure that
home.
we're in a situation where
We're
all those black
making
families,
child
black
care more
individuals
affordable.
who provided had to take out student
We're
loans
sorry about the
that were
inflation.
ballooning, that if they were engaged
Oops,
in
sorry, inflation.
and
We tried
anything
to
having
help
to do
you.
with volunteerism, if they paid their bills for 10 years and their student debt, all the rest was forgiven after 10 years. Millions have benefited from that. And we're going to do a whole lot more for black families.
Thank you,
Where's-
President Trump.
Why haven't you sent a
And he
bill to
caused the
Congress?
inflation. He's blaming inflation, and he's right. It's been very bad. He caused the inflation, and it's killing black families and Hispanic families and just about everybody. It's killing people. They can't buy groceries anymore. They can't. You look at the cost of food where it's doubled and tripled and quadrupled. They can't live. They're not living anymore. He caused this inflation. I gave him a country with essentially no inflation. It was perfect. It was so good. All he had to do is leave it alone. He destroyed it with his Green New Scam and all this money that's being thrown out the window. He caused inflation. As sure as you're sitting there, the fact is that his big kill on the black people is the millions of people that he's allowed to come in through the border. They're taking black jobs now, and it could be 18, it could be 19, and even 20 million people. They're taking black jobs, and they're taking Hispanic jobs, and you haven't seen it yet, but you're going to see something that's going to be the worst in our history.
Thank you. President Biden?
Yep.
There was no inflation when I became president. You know why? The economy was flat on its back. 15% unemployment. He decimated the economy.
There was no
That's where he
inflation.
decimated the
What?
economy.
What did you just
That's why
say?
there was no inflation at the time.
Well, you got to
There were no
rewind,
jobs.
dude. Give us a
Provided
rewind.
Thousands of millions of jobs for individuals who are in all communities, including minority communities.
You
We
don't
made
know how to do that, do
people
you?
have health insurance. We have covered.
Yeah, we're-
If the ACA has increased, I made sure that there are $8,000 per person in a family to get written off for health care.
I heard what he
This
said.
guy wants to eliminate that. They tried 50 times.
It was just
He wants to get rid
unbelievable.
of the
I couldn't
ACA.
believe my ears.
And they're going to try again if they win. We find ourselves in a position where the idea that we're not doing anything.
If only it were
more-
true, Road
we put
Score.
more
If
police on
only
the
it were
street
true.
than any administration has. He wants to cut the cops. We're providing for equity and making sure people have a shot to make it. There's a lot going on, but in inflation, he caused it by his tremendous malfeasance in the way he handled the pandemic.
Thank you. Another persistent challenge is the climate crisis. 2023 was the hottest year in recorded history, and communities across the country are confronting the devastating effects of extreme heat, intensifying wildfires, stronger hurricanes, and rising
Here we
sea
go.
levels.
The climate.
Former President Trump, you've vowed to end your opponent's climate initiatives, but will you take any action as president to slow the climate
Better
crisis?
just learn how to live in caves.
What he said about
Another question based on a
how
lie.
close the police are
There's
getting.
nothing that you're going to be able to do about
Police
it.
group in the nation from every
You can only make
state
it worse.
is
You'll
supporting
never be able to fix it,
Donald
even
J.
trying to
Trump.
fix it.
Almost
Will
every
only
police
make it worse.
And what he's done
change
to the
caused
black
by
population
humans
is horrible, including the fact that for 10 years he called them super predators. We can't, in the 1990s, we can't forget that. Super predators was his name, and he called it to them for 10, and they've taken great offense at it, and now they see it happening.
There's a huge.
But when they see what I did for criminal justice reform and for the historically black colleges and universities, where I funded them and got them all funded, and the opportunity zones with Tim, as you know, Tim Scott was incredible. He did a great job, great senator from South Carolina. He came to me with the idea, and it was a great idea. It's one of the most successful economic development acts ever in the country, opportunity zones. And the biggest beneficiary are blacks. And that's why we have the best numbers with them in maybe ever. They're saying ever. I read this morning where ever, the best numbers. He's lost much of the black population because he's done a horrible job for black people. He's also done a horrible job for Hispanics. But wait till you see these millions of people pouring into our country, and they're going to take the jobs, and it's already started, and you haven't seen anything yet. It's a disaster.
You 38 seconds left, President Trump. Will you take any action as president to slow the climate crisis?
So I want absolutely immaculate clean water, and I want absolutely clean air, and we had it. We had H2O. We had the best numbers ever, and we were using all forms of energy, all forms, everything. And yet, during my 4 years, I had the best environmental numbers ever. And my top environmental people gave me that statistic just before I walked on the stage, actually.
Best numbers ever.
The idea that anything he said is true. I've passed the most extensive climate change legislation
Is he crying?
in history. We find ourselves, and by the way,
He's running out of air.
I came up with $15 billion for HBCUs, historic black universities and colleges, because they don't have the kind of.
I went all year without saying the word Negro.
Commercial
these
here in a second.
laboratories and the like. Any black student is capable in college of doing any white student can do. He doesn't have the money, but now
He falls over, you know they're going to get
jobs
straight
in
to
high
work.
tech. We're in a situation where the idea that he is claiming to have done something that had the cleanest water, he hadn't done a damn thing for the environment. He out of the Paris Peace
I would
Accord,
eradicate
climate
Mr.
accord.
Bunny.
I immediately joined it because if
Trump
we
was
reach
around there.
1.5 degrees
All the
Celsius
nitrogen from
at any one
Mr.
point,
Bunny,
there's no way back.
including the
The only
fucking
existential
river,
threat to
we must
humanity
vote Easter
is
Bunny.
climate change, and he didn't do a damn thing about it. He must undo all that I've done.
We didn't need
Paris
to do
Accord
anything
is going
about
to cost
it.
us $1 trillion, and China nothing, and Russia nothing, and India nothing.
Damn,
It
Road
was a
Store.
ripoff of
We're
the United
already the
States.
cleanest country on
And
the
I
planet.
ended
What
it
else are we
because
supposed
I
to
didn't want to
fucking do?
waste that money because they treat us horribly. We were the only ones. It was costing us money. Nobody else was paying into it. And it was
We gotta pick
it
up
was
that
a
trash.
disaster. But everything that he said just now, I'll give you an example. I heard him say before,
Although
insulin.
I will
I'm
admit,
the one that got the insulin down.
the
for
trash that's on the
seniors.
side of the
I
road,
took
dude,
care of
has
the
somebody's
seniors.
name on it.
What he's
I think
doing
they
is
should pay to pick it
destroying
up.
all of our medical programs because the migrants coming in, they want everybody.
And it literally
and
has
look,
everybody's name
I have
still
the
on
biggest
it.
heart on the stage. I guarantee you that. And I want to take care of people. But we're destroying our country. They're taking over our schools, our hospitals, and they're going to be taking over Social Security. He is destroying Social Security, Medicare, and Medicaid.
Yeah.
The idea is that we, in fact, we were the only ones of consequence. We're not members of the Paris Accord. How can we do anything if we're not able? The United States can't get us under control. One of the largest polluters in the world, number one. We're making significant progress. By 2035, we will have cut pollution in half. We have made significant progress, and we're continuing to make progress. We set up a climate corps for thousands of young people to learn how to deal with climate.
Oh, you'd have to stop flying jets
And we're gonna-
off
we're
of
moving
fucking
in directions
boats.
that are gonna significantly
We're not going to
change
stop that.
the
How
elements
much
of
money did we
cause
spend,
pollution.
Joe?
But the
How
idea
much money we spent
that
to spend
he
on this?
claims that he has the biggest heart up here and he's really concerned about pollution
How much
and
money
about
did that
climate.
cost?
I've not seen any indication of that. And by the way, with regard to
I think for every
prescription
plane you
drugs,
see in the sky
no
with jet
company
engines, I think you're looking at
agreed that they would
30,000
reduce the price
to
to
1.4
$35,
million,
which I was calling for
depending on
one
how big they are.
voluntarily. I made sure every company in the world, every pharmaceutical company, cannot have to pay.
Thank you.
We talking
And by the way,
carbon?
So
No,
every day, millions
dollars
of
in
Americans
gas.
struggle just to make
How much
ends
they
meet.
pay in
For
jet
many
fuel.
older Americans, Social Security provides a critical lifeline. President Biden, if nothing is done
They
to
are
Social
pissing
Security,
through it around my
seniors
house,
will
dude.
see their
Like you
benefits
would
cut
not believe.
in just over 10 years. Will you name tonight one specific step that you're willing to take to keep Social Security solvent?
Yes, make the very wealthy begin to pay their fair share. Right now, everybody making under $170,000 pays 6% of their income, of their paycheck, every single time they get a paycheck from the time the first one they get when they're 18 years old. The idea that they're gonna, I'm proposing that everybody, they pay, the millionaires pay 1%. So no one after, I would not raise the cost of Social Security for anybody under
millionaires
$400,000
don't
after that. I
fucking
began
collect
to make the
Social
wealthy
Security.
begin to pay their fair share by increasing from 1% beyond to be able to guarantee the program for life.
So you still have 82 seconds left. Are there any
You're
other
millionaire,
measures
you
that
don't
you think
collect
that would be
Social
able to
Security.
help keep Social Security solvent, or is that one enough?
Well, no, that one enough will keep it solvent. But the biggest thing I'll do if we defeat this man, because he wants to get rid of Social Security. He thinks there's plenty to cut in Social Security. He's wanting to cut Social Security and Medicare, both times. And that's what. And if you look at the program put forward by the House Republican caucus that he supports, is in fact want to cut it as well. The idea that we don't need to protect our seniors is ridiculous. And by the way, the American public has greater health care coverage today than ever before. And on the ACA, as I said, we're in a circumstance where 400,000 people, 40 million people would not have insurance because they have a pre-existing condition. Only thing that allows them to have that insurance is the fact that they, in fact, are part of the ACA. And by the way, the other thing is, we're in a situation where talk about education.
What is he talking about?
Black communities. I've raised the amount of money for Pell Grants, another $8,000 for anybody making under.
They're just saying things,
$70,000 a
dude.
year
Both of them
gonna
are
be
just saying things.
$15,000 towards
They lay
tuition.
claim and disavow.
I just don't know what he's talking about.
Thank you,
They're
President
just
Biden. President Trump.
secretaries. They don't got
So
any
I've dealt with
fucking real control.
politicians all my life. I've been on this side of the equation for the last
But they
8
weren't
years.
supposed to.
I've never seen anybody lie like this guy. He lies. I've never seen it. He could look you in the face. About so many other things too. And we mentioned the laptop. We mentioned Russia, Ukraine. Everything he does is a lie. It's misinformation and disinformation. The losers and suckers story that he made up is a total lie on the military. It's a disgrace. But Social Security, he's destroying it because millions of people are pouring into our country and they're putting them onto Social Security. They're putting them onto Medicare, Medicaid. They're putting them in our hospitals. They're taking the place of our citizens. What they're doing to the VA, to our veterans, is unbelievable. Our veterans are living in the street, and these people are living in luxury hotels. He doesn't know what he's doing, and it's really coming back. I've never seen such anger in our country before.
President Biden?
The idea that veterans are not being taken care of, I told you before. By the way, when I said suckers and losers, he acknowledged after that he fired that general. That general got fired because he's the one who's acknowledged that that's what he said. He was the one standing with Trump when he said it, number one. Number two, the idea that we're going to be in a situation where all these millions and millions, the way he talks about it, illegal aliens are coming into the country and taking away our jobs. There's a reason why we have the fastest growing economy in the world, the reason why we have the most successful economy in the world. We're doing better than any other nation in the world. And by the way, those 15 Nobel laureates you talked about being phony, those 15 Nobel laureates, economists, they all said that if Trump is reelected, we're likely to have a recession and inflation is going to increasingly go up. And by the way, worst president in history, 159 presidential scholars voted for him the worst president in the history of the United States of America.
President Biden, thank you so much. Let's turn to the cost of child care,
Where do you
which
get
many
that
American
from?
families struggle to afford. President Trump, both you and President Biden have tried to
My
address
friend
this
said
issue,
that
but the average cost of child care in this country has risen to more than $11,000 a year per child. For many families, the cost of child care for 2 children is more than their rent. In your second term, what would you do to make child care more affordable?
I doubt it.
Just to go back,
They're right.
the
I really
general
doubt
got
that.
fired because he
really
was no
doubt
good.
That's true.
And if he said that, that's why he made it up. But we have 19 people that said I didn't say it, and they're very highly respected, much more so than
Child
him.
care is more than
The other thing is, he doesn't fire people. He never fired people. I've never seen him fire anybody. I did fire a lot. I fired Comey because he was no good. I fired a lot of the top people at the FBI, drained the swamp. They were no good. Not easy to fire people. You'd pay a price for it, but they were no good. I inherited these people. I didn't put him there. I didn't put Comey there. He was no good. I fired him. This guy hasn't fired anybody. He never fires. He should have fired every military man that was involved with that the Afghanistan horror show, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. He didn't fire. Did you fire anybody? Did you fire anybody that's on the border that's allowed us to have the worst border in the history of the world? Did anybody get fired for allowing 18 million people, many from prison, many from mental institutions? Did you fire anybody that allowed our country to be destroyed? Joe, our country is being destroyed as you and I sit up here and waste a lot of time on this debate. This shouldn't be a debate. He is the worst president. He just said about me because I said it. But look, he's the worst president in the history of our country. He's destroyed our country. Now all of a sudden he's trying to get a little tough on the border. He came out with a nothing deal, and it reduced it a little bit, like this much. It's insignificant. He wants open borders. He wants our country to either be destroyed or he wants to pick up those people as voters. And I don't think we just can't let it happen. If he wins this election, our country doesn't have a chance, not even a chance, of coming out of this rut. We probably won't have a country left anymore. That's how bad it is. He is the worst in history by far.
Thank you, President Trump. President Biden?
We're the most admired country in the world. We're the United States of America. There's nothing beyond our capacity. We have the finest military in the history of the world, the finest in the history of the world. No one thinks we're weak. No one wants to screw around with us. Nobody, number one. Number two, the idea that we're talking about worst presidents. I wasn't joking. Look it up or go online. 159 or 58, don't hold me the exact number, presidential historians that had meetings and they voted who was the worst president in American history, one from best to worst. They said he was the worst in all of American history. That's a fact. That's not conjecture. He can argue they're wrong, but that's what they voted. The idea that he is.
I know it's tough to watch it.
You're a bad president. No, I'm not. You are. You're a bad president.
You ain't fired nobody. You ain't fired nobody.
Or single parents to be able to go back to work, and we should encourage businesses to hold.
That would be a really good
President
statement.
Biden. President Trump, the question was about what would you do to make child care more affordable, if you want to take your minute.
Just so you understand, we have polling, we have other things that they rate him the worst because what he's done is so bad. And they rate me, I'll show you, I will show you. And they rate me one of the best, okay? And if I'm given another 4 years, I will be the best. I think I'll be the best. Nobody's ever created an economy like us. Nobody ever cut taxes like us. He's the only one I know. He wants to raise your taxes by 4 times. He wants to raise everybody's taxes by 4 times. He wants the Trump tax cuts to expire. So everybody, including the two of you, are going to pay 4 to 5 times. Nobody ever heard of this before. All my life, I'd grow up and I'd see politicians talking about cutting taxes. When we cut taxes, as I said, we did more business. Apple and all these companies, they were bringing money back into our country. The worst president in history by far, and everybody knows it.
President Biden?
Look, the fact of the matter is that he's dead wrong about, he's increased the tariff, he will increase the taxes on middle-class people.
Yeah.
I said I'd never raise a tax on anybody making less than $400,000. I did. This tariff is 10% tariffs. Everything coming in the country, you know what the economists say? That's going to cost the average American $2,500 a year more, because they're going to have to pay the difference in food and all the things that we're importing. Number two, he's in a situation where he talks about how he has not raised, he's somehow helped the middle class. The middle class have been devastated by you. Now you want a new tax cut of $5 trillion over the next 10 years, which is going to fundamentally bankrupt the country. You have the largest deficit of any president in American history, number one. Number two, you have not, in fact, made any contact, any progress with China. We are the lowest trade deficit with China since 2010.
Thank you,
We're at the
President
highest.
Biden. Let's discuss an epidemic impacting millions of Americans that both of you have made a top priority in your first term, the opioid crisis. And for both of you, the number of overdose deaths in this country has gone up. Under your term, it went up. Under your term, it has gone up. Former President Trump, despite the efforts that both of you have made, more than 100,000 Americans are dying from overdoses every year, primarily from fentanyl and other opioids. What will you do to help Americans right now in the throes of addiction who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
To finish up, we now have the largest deficit in the history of our country under this guy. We have the largest deficit with China. He gets paid by China. He's a Manchurian candidate. He gets money from China. So I think he's afraid to deal with them or something. But you notice he never took out my tariffs because we bring in so much money with the tariffs that I imposed on China. He never took them away. He can't because it's too much money.
Both of them,
it's tremendous. And we saved our steel industries, and there was more to come. But he hasn't done that. But he hasn't cut the tariffs because he can't, because it's too much money. But he's got the largest deficit in the history of our country, and he's got the worst situation with China. China's going to own us if you keep allowing them to do what they're doing to us as a country. They are killing us as a country, Joe, and you can't let that happen. You're destroying our country.
So, President Trump, you have 67 seconds left. The question was, what are you going to do to help Americans in the throes of addiction right now who are struggling to get the treatment they need?
Jake, we were doing very well at addiction until the COVID came along. We had the 2.5, almost 3 years of like nobody's ever had before, any country, in every way. And then we had to get tough. And it was the drugs pouring across the border it started to increase. We got great equipment. We bought the certain dog that's the most incredible.
It wasn't drugs pouring across no border.
We did a lot. We were getting very low numbers, very, very low numbers. Then he came along.
It isn't fentanyl that's killing people.
I know what. It's not only the 18 million people that I believe is even low because the gotaways, they don't even talk about gotaways.
Run them off the
but the numbers of
they were doing Oxycontin
human trafficking
before they were doing fentanyl. They're still doing Oxycontin, and if it's Oxycontin killing them before, it's still killing them now.
Nobody's ever seen under him because the border's so bad.
There is no treatment.
The number of drugs coming across our border now is the largest we've ever had by far.
President Trump, thank you. President Biden?
Fentanyl and byproducts fentanyl went down for a while. And I wanted to make sure we use the machinery that can detect fentanyl, these big machines that roll over everything that comes across the border. And it costs a lot of money. That was part of this deal we put together, this bipartisan deal. More fentanyl machines, more be able to detect drugs, more numbers of agents, more numbers of
United States. Why do they have to import it?
And when we had that deal done, he called his Republican colleagues and don't do
Pharmacon was already making enough pills for the street and the pharmacy. They never had a problem making enough.
Those machines.
I mean, a
we need those machines. We're coming down very hard in every country in Asia in terms of precursors for fentanyl. And Mexico is working with us to make sure they don't have the technology to be able to put
They have filled the whole street market the entire time they had the drugstore market.
Thank you, President Biden. President Trump, and again, the question is about Americans in the throes of addiction.
Figure out a way to make it here.
Well, this does pertain to it. He ended Remain in Mexico. He ended catch and release. I made it catch and release in Mexico, not catch and release here.
Questions.
We had so many things that we had done, hard negotiations with Mexico, and I got it all for nothing. It's just like when you have a hostage. We always pay $6 billion for every time we say a hostage. Now we have a hostage, a Wall Street Journal reporter.
They all have
I think a good guy. And he's over there because Putin is laughing at this guy, probably asking for billions of dollars for the reporter. I will have him out very quickly as soon as I take office. Before I take office, I said by literally as soon as I win the election, I will have that reporter out. He should have had him out a long time ago. But Putin's probably asking for billions and billions of dollars because this guy pays it every time. We had 2 cases where we paid $6 billion for 5 people. I got 58 people out, and I paid essentially nothing.
Thank you, President Trump. Dana?
Let's turn to concerns that voters have about each of you. President Biden, you would be 86 at the end of your second term. How do you address concerns
what kind of ice cream
about your capability to handle the toughest job in the world well into your 80s?
I pooped my
Well,
pants.
first of all, I spent half my career being criticized as being the youngest person in politics. I was the second youngest person ever elected to the United States Senate, and now I'm the oldest. This guy's 3 years
Been there a
younger
long
than me.
time, huh, Joe?
I think that just look at
Yeah.
the record. Look at what I've done. Look, I've turned around the horrible situation he left me. As I said, 15 million
Wouldn't
new
that be
jobs,
done it all in
800,000
fucking
manufacturing
in
jobs,
your 50
more
year
investment in
career,
America,
50,
over
55 fucking years.
billions of dollars in private investment in enterprises that we are growing. By the way, we brought an awful lot of people. Well,
We're in really
the
good.
whole idea of computer
It's
chips, we used to have 40% of the market.
Fucking
We invented
another
those chips,
55 years,
and we
and
lost
fucking
it because he was
God
sending people
knows, fucking the
to,
country will
to
just
find
be
the cheapest
amazing on
jobs
that.
overseas and to bring home a
If we can
product.
only keep them
So
for
I went
5
to
years.
South Korea. I convinced Samsung to invest billions of dollars
Can
here
you
in the
imagine
United
what
States.
kind of world it would
And
be?
they're, guess what? Those fabs, they call them, that to build these chips, those fabs pay over $100,000. You don't need a college degree for them. And there's billions, about $40 billion already being invested and being built right now in the United States, creating significant jobs for Americans from all over the world.
President Biden, you have 40 seconds left.
For
Would you like to
Americans
add anything?
all over
Yeah, I
the
would.
world. We're
The idea
creating
that
jobs
somehow
for Americans
we are
all
this
over the
failing
world.
country.
Yes,
I've
sir.
heard the president talk about this before.
You like that one, don't
The
you?
envy of the world. Name me a single major country president who wouldn't trade places with the United States of America for all our problems and all our opportunities. We're the most progressive country in the world in getting things done. We're the strongest country in the world.
We
We're
were.
a country in the world who keeps our word, and everybody trusts us. All of our allies and those who he cuddles up to, from Kim Jong Un, he sends love letters to, Putin, etc.
Opie was
They don't
ranting
want to
down there.
screw
He's
around
getting
with us.
it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Opie.
Former President Trump, to follow up, you would be 82 at the end of your second term. What do you say to voters who have concerns about your capabilities?
I'm
to
4
serve?
years younger
Well, I
than
took
he
two
is.
tests, cognitive tests. I aced them, both of them, as you know. We made it public. He took none. I'd like to see him take one, just one, a real easy one. Like go through the first 5 questions. He couldn't do it. But I took 2 cognitive tests. I took physical exams every year. And, you know, we knock on wood wherever we may have wood, that I'm in very good health. I just won 2 club championships, not even senior, 2 regular club championships. To do that, you have to be quite smart, and you have to be able to hit the ball a long way. And I do it. He doesn't do it. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. He challenged me to a golf match. He can't hit a ball 50 yards. I think I'm in very good shape. I feel that I'm as in good a shape as I was 25, 30 years ago. Actually, I'm probably a little bit lighter, but I'm in as good a shape as I was years ago. I feel very good. I feel the same. But I was willing to take a cognitive test. And you know what? If I didn't do well, I aced them. Dr. Ronnie Jackson, who's a great guy when he was White House doctor. And then I took another one, a similar one. And one of them said they'd never seen anybody ace him.
Thank you. President Biden?
You can see he was 6 foot
Get
5
dropped.
and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what anyway, just take a look at what he says he is and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. And by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag.
Well, that's it. I'm
You can do
voting
it.
for Joe, man.
We gotta see something
He's
now.
a 6 handicap.
Clearly
Of all.
better at
I
golf.
was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
What a
But
sportsman.
I had, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
He's such.
Okay,
Let's
let's
not
know
act
how
like
many
children.
President Trump, we're going to
21
turn
Let's not act like children.
You
to
are
a
a child.
specific concern that voters
I
have
think,
about
I
you.
think, I think
Will you
instead of
pledge
electing
tonight
president, we should
that
just
once
have
all legal
leaders.
challenges have been exhausted, that you will accept the results of this election, regardless of who wins, and you will say right now that political violence in any form is unacceptable.
Well, I shouldn't have to say that, but of course I believe that. It's totally unacceptable. And if you would see my statements that I made on Twitter at the time, and also my statement that I made in the Rose Garden, you would say it's one of the strongest statements you've ever seen. In addition to the speech I made in front of, I believe, the largest crowd I've ever spoken to. And I will tell you, nobody ever talks about that. They talk about a relatively small number of people that went to the Capitol, and in many cases were ushered in by the police. And as Nancy Pelosi said, it was her responsibility, not mine. She said that loud and clear. But the answer is, if the election is fair, free, and I want that more than anybody. And I'll tell you something. I wish he was a great president because I wouldn't be here right now. I'd be at one of my many places enjoying myself. I wouldn't be under indictment because I wouldn't have been his political opponent, because he indicted me because I was his opponent. I wish he was a great president. I would rather have that. I wouldn't be here. I don't mind being here. The only reason I'm here is he's so bad as a president that I'm going to make America great again. We're going to make America great again. We're a failing nation right now. We're a seriously failing nation. And we're a failing nation because of him. His policies are so bad. His military policies are
that was that second,
insane.
That second,
they're insane.
Right.
These are wars that will never end with him. He will drive us into World War III, and we're closer to World War III than anybody can imagine. We are very, very close to World War III, and he's driving us there. And Kim Jong-un and President Xi of China, Kim Jong-un of North Korea, all of these, Putin, they don't respect him. They don't fear him. They have nothing going with this gentleman, and he's going to drive us into World War III.
You want a World War III.
They got nothing going with him.
Say do what you want, NATO. Just do what you want. There's a thing called Article 5. An attack on one is attack on all. A required response. The idea, I can't think of a single major leader in the world who wouldn't trade places with the job I've done, what they've done. Because we are a powerful nation. We have wonderful people. It's because of the people, not me. It's because of the American people. They're capable of anything, and they step up when they're needed. And right now, we're needed. We're needed to protect the world because our own safety is at stake. And again, you want to have a war.
I know
just let Putin go ahead and take Kyiv, make sure they move on, see what happens in Poland, Hungary, and other places along that border. Then you have a war.
President Trump, as I come back to you for a follow-up, the question was, will you...
Sleepy Joe is losing his mind.
Election, regardless of who wins.
Just to finish what he said, if I might, Russia, they took a lot of land from Bush. They took a lot of land from Obama and Biden. They took no land, nothing from Trump, nothing. He knew not to do it. Not going to play games with me. He knew that. I got along with him very well, but he knew not to play games. He took nothing from me. But now he's going to take the whole thing from this man right here. That's a war that should have never started. It would have never started ever with me. And he's going to take Ukraine. And, you know, you asked me a question before, would you do this with? He's got us in such a bad position right now with Ukraine and Russia, because Ukraine's not winning that war. He said, I will never settle until such time. They're running out of people. They're running out of soldiers. They've lost so many people. It's so sad. They've lost so many people, and they've lost those gorgeous cities with the golden domes that are 1,000 years old, all because of him and stupid decisions. Russia would have never attacked if I were
President Trump,
president.
the question was, will you accept the results of the election, regardless of who wins? Yes or no, please.
If it's a fair and legal and good election, absolutely. I would have much rather accepted these, but the fraud and everything else was ridiculous. And if you want, we'll have a news conference on it in a week, or we'll have another one of these in a week. But I will absolutely, there's nothing I'd rather do. It would be much easier for me to do that than I'm running again. I wasn't really going to run until I saw the horrible job he did. He's destroying our country. I would be very happy to be someplace else, in a nice location someplace. And again, no indictments, no political opponent stuff, because it's the only way he thinks he can win. But unfortunately, it's driven up my numbers and driven them up to a very high level.
Bitch.
So people understand it.
We'll see what your numbers are when this election is over. Let's see. You're a whiner. When you lost the first time, you continued, you appealed and appealed to courts all across the country.
Name calling.
Not one single
Never
court in
name
America
calling.
said any of your claims had any merit, state or local, none. But you continue to provoke this lie about somehow there's all this misrepresentation, all this stealing. There is no evidence of that at all. And I tell you what, I doubt whether you'll accept it because you're such a whiner. The idea, if you lose again, you accepting anything, you can't stand the loss. Something snapped in you when you lost the last time.
We'll be right back.
Oh,
more
my
of
God.
the CNN presidential debate
Oh my God.
live from Georgia.
I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Damn, that is really long segments. I am stunned by that. I don't know. Nobody watches CNN anymore. It's probably, you know, I mean, I ain't watched CNN in years. So, damn, I'm hairy as shit and I need to shave again. Damn. Probably look like a hippie. Well, we're all sitting in here, hanging out, smoking pot, watching them fucking talk shit. I'd like to say I had a dog in the hunt, guys, but I really don't. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know who's. Couldn't tell you who's going to win. I'm excited to see. No, I can tell you that. I think we're on the hunt now. We're watching it unfold, you know, little by little as November comes up. So it's not nearly as noisy as it was every other time. I'm stunned by how quiet it is this time. Maybe I just had given up so much on the news since 2020 that I don't know. I know there ain't no Biden flags or no Biden bumper stickers around here, though. I can tell you that. That's all I can say. I mean, none. Whoever does vote for Biden around here, they do it in secret.
Well, here's my take on the debate so far. It's pretty much devolved into a mud.
You've had bad volume this whole time.
Yeah, hang on a second. What the heck is going on? I don't know why I removed it from the screen, but the volume was still there or something. But my take on the debate so far is that it's devolved into a mudslinging contest.
Yes.
And that nobody's really winning. But that said, it's gonna hinge on their records.
What do you mean nobody's winning? So let me tell you what a debate is now. A debate.
It's
a two-person conversation that the left and the right will meme. And I guarantee you, the right will out-meme the left with that much content.
It's possible.
That's how that's going to go. They're going to make Joe Biden look like he's shitting his pants and singing a song at the same time.
He certainly has had a lot of weird facial expressions going on the whole time.
I'm fucking telling you, dude, he's going through wild changes up there.
Oh yeah. I think you're right. But you know, I think it's gonna hinge on their records. It's gonna hinge on what's going on during their presidency. You know, and therefore the debate will be won by the mimist, as you said. The mimist will win the debate, and neither one of them.
The people who put the memes up online.
Yes,
most people won't have watched this debate in that way. They just won't have watched.
The mimist. Call them the mimist.
The mimist. And the right out memes the left by a million miles.
Every time. But
every time.
You got to wonder, though, you know, like on the left, do they, like, when they look at one of those memes, do they even get it? Do they go, you know, and chuckle a little bit to themselves and go, God damn it, those motherfuckers? But do they chuckle just, you know, do they get it at all? They probably don't even get it, right?
Maybe not. But what if it irritates? What if it actually irritates, which would be the most extreme of it?
Yeah, I don't know if they're bright enough to get it though. So
jiggly poop, jiggly poop, jiggly poop.
Are we back?
Joe is now Mr. Ed.
No.
Oh, we are talking.
Where he now wants to tax you more by putting a 10% tariff on everything that comes into the United States of America. What I did, for example, he wants to get rid of the ability of Medicare for the us to be able to negotiate drug pricing with the big pharma companies. Well, guess what? We got it down to $35 for insulin instead of $400. No more than $2,000 for every senior, no matter how much prescription they need. You know what that did? That reduced the federal debt by $160 billion over 10 years because the government doesn't have to pay the exorbitant prices. I'm going to make that available to every senior all along. It's happening now, and everybody in America. He wants to get rid of that. I'm going to make sure that we have child care.
Get rid of that. I just made this up, and he wants to get rid of it.
About what we're doing on
That's hilarious.
that are causing health problems.
They've been
for
fighting
people
over
across the
this
country.
insulin.
We're going to
issue
continue to
for like
fight to bring
10
down
years
inflation
now.
and
Both
give
of
people a
them
break.
claim to have
Thank you, President Biden.
Lord,
President
cost
Trump, you now have 2 minutes for your
like
closing statement.
$30. They both
Like
made
so many
different
politicians, this man is just a complainer. He said, we want to do this, we want to do that, we want to get rid of this tax, that tax. But he doesn't do anything. He doesn't do, all he does is make our country
That's in
unsafe
Trump
by
actually
allowing
to do it.
millions and millions of people to pour in. Our military doesn't respect him. We look like fools in Afghanistan.
It's
we
talking
didn't
sounds
stop
drunk.
Israel. It was such a horrible thing that would have never happened. It should have never happened. Iran was broke. Anybody that did business with Iran, including China, they couldn't do business with the United States. They all passed. Iran was broke. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, for terror, no money whatsoever. Again, Ukraine
Idiot
should have
head
never
gave
happened.
them back
He
money.
talks about all this stuff, but he didn't do it. For 3.5 years, we're living in hell.
Yeah.
We have the Palestinians and we have everybody else
Bastards,
rioting all
the
over the place.
Iranians.
You talk about Charlottesville. This is 100 times Charlottesville, 1,000 times. The whole country is exploding because of you, because they don't respect you, and they have to respect their president, and they don't respect you throughout the world.
I remember
What
when
we
that
did
happened,
was
like in
incredible. We
34.
rebuilt the
Other
military.
shit
We got the largest tax cut in history, the largest regulation cut in history. The reason he's got jobs is because I cut the regulations that gave jobs, but he's putting a lot of those regulations back on. All of the things that we've done, nobody's never seen anything like, even from a medical standpoint, right to try, where we can try space age materials instead of going to Asia or going to Europe and trying to get when you're terminally ill. Now you can go and you can get something. You sign a document. They've been trying to get it for 42 years. But you know what we did for the military was incredible. Choice for our soldiers, where our soldiers, instead of waiting for 3 months to see a doctor, can go out and get themselves fixed up and readied up and take care of themselves. And they're living. And that's why I had the highest approval rating in the history of the VA. So all of these things, we're in a failing nation, but it's not going to be failing anymore. We're going to make it great again.
Thank you, former President Trump, President Biden. Stay with us because we have full analysis of this debate. Anderson Cooper and Aaron Burnett starts now on CNN.
Who was afraid Trump would end the fucking world if he fucking did shit? If he did anything. He was actually afraid. Now he's like, I don't know what the fuck Trump will do. I know what Biden will do. He'll do what his advisors tell him to do. I'm fucking invading as soon as that man is president. Bam, it's on.
I think that's it.
I bet you Putin gives Trump back some land even. I would not doubt that Putin backs off a good 100 miles off the line that they're holding as soon as Trump is elected. Just for the fuck you to the Democratic Party. just for making waves.
It's hard to say. I think from what I understand, Putin's not so much concerned. This is the way I catch it from my Ukrainian friends. They're telling me that Putin isn't so much concerned with having the territory of Ukraine, but he's more concerned about the political situation there and the fact that there's a lot of there's a lot of illegal shit going on inside Ukraine's borders that shouldn't be happening.
He does not want to end up having to take fucking Ukraine on as a fucking welfare state.
No, they don't want Ukraine.
So at some point, he will have to find and make up some new border that he's like, this is the part we're going to keep.
They're probably going to keep some of it. Yeah, they're probably going to keep.
They're definitely going to keep some of it. They're not giving the whole thing back. That's not how that works.
but it's going to be a small slice. It's not going to be like going to be.
It'll be some sort of strategic slice of the
It's
pie.
going to be like they're going to move the fucking border up like 10 miles or some shit. You know,
It'll be some shit like, you know what I'm saying.
yeah. I mean, it's not like they're going to like take half the country or anything like that.
I don't know how
What they're
popular
more
it is.
concerned about is a buffer zone. They want a buffer zone. That's what they really want. And they want the fucking biolabs in Ukraine shut down. There's biolabs there, just like there is in China. And guess who's behind that shit? We
Well,
are.
I mean, that's
We
just the way that is, though, dude.
We
You gotta,
are.
you know. Yes,
Fuck,
but that's where you have them. Come
Dr.
on, you know that's where you're supposed to have them.
Dr. Fauci doesn't have all his eggs in one basket. He's got half of them in China and half of them in Ukraine, and a bunch,
Oh, I bet they're spread out around the world, dude. I bet there's
bunch more
50
somewhere else.
fucking black sites.
Right. But the Russians are tired of the bullshit that goes on fucking over the border, and they want it to end, and that's what started the fucking war. And the fucking Ukrainians want it to end too. That's the sad part. The Ukrainians know what's going on. They want it to end too. They know that fucking Ukraine is run by a fucking illegitimate fucking
In the 1980s, Ukraine got rid of its nuclear weapons. Every country on the planet now knows what would happen to you. Could you be ever dumb enough to think that, that's a good idea? Turns out, terrible idea. Terrible idea.
anyway.
Terrible idea.
I don't think anybody really won.
No.
And
No, one country ended up war torn, and then that's what's going to happen. I'll tell you what happened, dude. White guys were fighting white guys again, and they were probably dying super fast. That's all I can say about that. We're really, really, really nasty on each other.
not one voter was swayed. That's my opinion on the.
Oh, for the debate? Yeah, nobody was swayed.
Not one voter was swayed. It didn't amount to a hill of beans.
No, those are your candidates, though.
They both came out looking kind of stupid.
Those are both. That's the
I hate to
candidates.
say that. Trump's by far, in my mind, Trump is by far the better candidate. I think he's actually a great candidate for president. But
Yeah.
but they both came out looking like fools, and that's that just proves that the old saying is true. Never argue with a fucking idiot, because you fucking wind up looking just as dumb as they are. So fucking, you know what? I don't know. Nobody won.
Nobody won. Thank you. That's how it always ends up. And then somebody will win by electoral vote.
You know who won? You know who won? The Federal Reserve Bank. The people that own the Federal Reserve Bank won.
These guys have it rigged to win, dude. 100%.
Those are the motherfuckers that won.
Yes. If it doesn't collapse, they win. That's their only thing. Make sure it doesn't fall down. If it falls down, they technically lose. You can't be rich where it's poor. That's a rule. You can't be rich where it's poor. Oh, look how rich I am. No, you can't be rich where it's poor, dude. You're just amongst the savages, dude. You're not rich. You gotta have clean streets and nice neighborhoods and economies, and you gotta keep it floating.
That's true, man. I don't know if a lot of people fucking see it that way. But if everybody around you is dirt poor, then it doesn't really work.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
They are trying to break it right this second. I can't tell you.
But a lot of people think the opposite. The opposite, though. Everybody, they think they have to climb on top of humanity to fucking have something.
I'm sure the really rich people laugh when we say Elon Musk is a rich person.
Yeah. I bet you that's true.
Yeah,
I
that
bet
they
you
giggle.
that's true.
That how silly that sounds.
Yeah. He's got assets. He owns a lot of stuff. He's probably got very little cash. If you asked him what's in his pocket, he fucking probably pull out a handful of change.
He's not old enough to have control of size of piles that are actually out there.
Yeah, he's not old money. No, actually, he is old money. Yeah, I think no, actually, Elon is old money.
I mean, if if Emerald Mines in South Africa is old money, I mean,
yeah, I don't know much about his past, but I believe
Emerald Mine
is that
is
what
that-
it is? His parents
is that
are
full time?
his. Is that what it is? His parents are
Yeah.
precious stone mining in Africa. Oh,
Precious,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah, so
Emerald Mines in South Africa.
so they are old money.
Yeah, I think back when you could slave everything up too, when it was good work.
Yeah, if you're not old money, you're not rich. No, because that those people are fucking. Those are the people that are involved in the banking system, man. They've been around. Their families have been around long enough that they fucking finance kings and queens and shit like that. They fucking
Thank you.
yeah. They
And I
know
don't even know their names.
yeah. They got more
Yeah.
money than fucking God.
Thank you. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. And they'll pick who the next president is for us, and we will enjoy it one way or the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they don't get to pick who it is, they'll make sure that they destroy whoever it is.
But we'll bring their asses democracy.
Yep, we're going to democratize the shit out of you motherfuckers.
We'll democratize the shit out of them.
I'm only going till 11 o'clock tonight, guys.
But that's all right. That was fun. I had fun watching it.
I just wanted to do
I was hoping he was going to fall down, poop his pants, go wandering off the stage. I don't know.
I was real.
You never know. It could have happened.
We were really hoping for that 10th round knockout. That.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying.
And,
oh my God.
Yeah, it would have been fucking. It would have been epic if we could have got one of those. But I guess they got. They spent a whole week at Camp David getting the formula right. It was fucking the lab test fucking went on night and day to get that shit done.
Yeah, no, they had a fucking alchemist in there, dude, a witch doctor, all kinds of shit.
I do mean night and day for 7 days straight.
Yeah,
on it.
A few chickens were sacrificed. I mean, the whole whatever it takes to keep him standing, dude.
Oh no shit.
Yeah. Yeah, he had a damn pentagram drawn on his butt cheek.
Holy shit.
Worked all day, chilled 30 minutes, then mowed, shower, then here I'm out 10. I'm out at 10. Yeah, well, I fucking kicked ass today. I can't deny it. I did damn good, so. I did work quite a while, but whatever. Some days it's a banger day.
Paul says, didn't there used to be 3 candidates? Paul, the way our country is now, we're lucky there's not just one.
I don't recall, not in my lifetime, that there was ever 3. Third party has never had 5%.
Yeah, that's
been alive.
Yeah, once the
I don't think you've ever seen 5% from a third party.
Once the primaries are over and the two parties choose the candidate that they're going to support, that's pretty much it till election.
That was the whole. You knew that Bernie Sanders was a sheep herder when the Green Party, I think it was the Green Party, offered whoever it was that was running, said no. She offered to him, here, you take it, you run in my stead, and at least you could get it up to 5%, and we could 1 year have a goddamn 3-person run. No, that sumbitch went over there and got up underneath Hillary's skirt, and whatever gross shit he had to do for that, and next thing you know, and my old lady was stunned thinking that anybody would vote for Hillary. That was a thing.
Oh my gosh, there were a lot of.
She said, I'm a woman. I wouldn't.
There were a lot of women that I knew that wanted to vote for Hillary, and I'm like, why? Like I looked up Hillary's
Well, they probably didn't.
Hillary's record in Congress, and like her work in Congress is abysmal.
Yeah, it was just a short. It was a short period, though. It wasn't very long.
She accomplished almost nothing, literally nothing, and
I go to hell.
She did help them draft the Health Care Act, but that was a fucking disaster. That destroyed health care.
That's a great one.
Healthcare got so much more expensive after the Health Care Act came into effect. I pay 4 times more now for fucking healthcare that I never even fucking need or use hardly. And like when I do need it, it ain't worth a shit.
Yeah.
And it costs 4 times more. So that was a fucking disaster.
How do you know you need it?
She claims that as a success, you know. That's her success. That our healthcare is 4 times more expensive now. And you can't even choose your own doctor.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, you don't get to choose your doctor now. You get
But
to
we
choose.
paid the fine for a few years, and then it went away or whatever.
You get to choose. You get to choose the. Here in Maryland, if they find out you're doing that, Maryland took over for that shit when the feds gave up on it. Maryland decided that they were going to take over for it and do it themselves.
What does that mean?
So now Maryland fines you here in Maryland if you don't have health care. But I do. But that's what they're doing. Yeah. Maryland does. Maryland adopted the Health Care Act on a state level, basically.
There is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, it's fucking crooked as shit. Yeah, fucking the thing about Kennedy is number one, he's dropping in the polls. He's losing his support because he said dumb shit like he's on board with pushing the electric cars on everybody who doesn't want them. A lot of people got turned off by that one. They're like, no.
He does have a few fucking opinions that you're like, man.
Yeah, he's radical on things. He doesn't. He literally said that he believed in forcing it on people if necessary. If he thought it was necessary, that he would force it on the American public. And come on, man, we can't do that shit.
He had some other crazy beliefs too. That wasn't the last one.
I mean, that was the one that I heard of. You know, that's the one.
A good enough one, but he had a few of them.
The policy, and like I said, his support is dropping.
He's pretty hard left in those weird ways like that. Like,
it's weird. You know, he's not what people think he is. You know, you think he's the Avenger who's going to fucking come in and clean up the FBI and the CIA and the DOJ, and you know, because he's the son of RFK, but or not.
I'll tell you one fucking thing, dude. If anybody's been lied to the most, he's heard the most fucking lies in a row.
He's what? He's heard the most lies?
Yeah, he's heard the most lies. He was that little kid who they said, no, everything's okay. That's a fact, dude.
Yeah, he probably knows shit that
his parents were dead, dude, and he was already being told everything's okay. I guarantee you.
I don't know. He's got a personal axe to grind and fucking.
That's what I would think, dude. In those ways, I bet he's got some personal axe.
He's got a personal axe to grind, and he might be mentally unstable.
Thank you. That makes for a great TV show. You mean?
But anyway, I think it's over for him anyway. It was a great fantasy. It was a really great fantasy. Oh my God, we're gonna have a fucking another Kennedy. He's gonna come in and fucking, you know, he's fucking like almost. He's almost a fucking Democrat. He's almost a Democrat. But fucking yeah. There's no such fucking thing as democracy. Well, you know what they say. Democracy is 2 wolves and a lamb deciding what they're having for dinner.
Thank you.
And
thank you.
That's I think
that's why you want a republic.
I think
and you're like, what's that mean? That means another group of lambs gets to vote what lamb goes up there is the wolf. That's all. That's all, dude. Come up with a better system. You won't find one that doesn't ultimately end up in the same. I don't care which one you think of.
The problem is the wolves are fucking crazy, right? So the wolves are not supposed to make it into Congress, right? But the problem is some of the wolves have made it in, right? And they're crazy and they're stupid. So things have gotten a little out of control. Usually the lambs get elected because they're the fucking sedate ones. They seem to have a little bit of fucking sense about them.
Yeah. Yeah, the most votes ever, sir. Most votes ever.
The lambs are much more civilized, they wear wool, they don't eat meat.
They spoke on a lot of the wars that were technically, just to be honest, not our fucking wars. And you're like, oh, those are the best. They would argue about wars that they're not even ours.
Yeah.
Money. It's literally our money. It doesn't so in that way. Although Joe Biden did have to remind them, we don't send them a pallet of money. We send them a pallet of bullets.
I don't mind, charity is one thing, but supporting a war is totally different. And why do we have to do it? Why is it incumbent on the United States only to support?
Because you have a fiat currency, you need to destroy this money.
To support this war in Ukraine. It's like, yeah, we need Ukraine to be part of the Western economy instead of the Eastern economy, but I'm not too sure if that's really a big part of it.
No, you need endless war. You don't need, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
1984, it just it really does work that way. I mean, you have to have it.
But that destroys the economy eventually because all that money comes from the federal government, and we know where the federal government gets that money. They fucking borrow it from us.
Yes, but it makes your dollars rare.
And it destroys the fucking economy.
It adds value to your dollars as they blow up every bomb.
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't add value.
Yes, it does. It adds value to your dollar.
Oh, they have to inflate the currency to pay for all.
Oh no, they'll make more, so they're going to need your dollars.
They have to inflate the currency to pay for that shit. That's the only way they can pay for it nowadays because fucking the federal debt. That just the fucking interest alone on the federal debt is like more. We're like over the amount of money that they collect every year in taxes, right? They're actually paying more. They're actually paying money. They're actually having to borrow money just to pay the interest on the money that they owe, right? How long can that shit go on for? And the more they do it, the worse it gets, man. They need to fucking put their foot down and put the brakes on this shit because it's fucking out of control. We're already out of control. Fucking when you owe, if you were borrowing, Jared, okay, let's say you make $1,000 a month, just for the sake of bullshitting, okay. Not to say that that's what you make or anything. It's just a nice round even number. $1,000 a month, right? And you charge your credit. Your bills and all the credit and shit you owe comes out to $1,500 a month. That's what the government has done. They've literally done that, right? It's like, not only have they done that, but it's just the interest payment on that amount is more than they actually bring in. So it's like, what the fuck, man? Your interest is higher than the amount of money you make. You're fucking
It's
broke.
a Ponzi scheme, sir. I don't know if you know that it's a Ponzi.
You're fucking broke.
So, hopefully you got one of those pieces of paper that they gave out.
If the fucking courts found out about either me or you doing this shit, they'd fucking drag us in there and force us.
We would have already went into default, dude. They would have already prosecuted us.
Yeah, the courts would have already dragged us in and took our house and fucking and our cars.
Yeah, seized all of our assets and everything.
We'd be fucking on the side of the road, fucking towing a fucking grocery cart with a motorized bicycle.
Yeah. I guess they'd have to bring Nancy Pelosi back.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, we really need, Nancy and Maxine Waters should go on the road as a Vegas act, right? They should both go to Vegas and like sing and dance and shit, right? In Vegas. Can you imagine both of them together?
Hello, my darling. Hello, my baby. Hello, my ragtime gal.
Hey, did you hear that latest one about Trump? Da, 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 da. If you see him anywhere, you tell him he's not welcome. Tell him he's not welcome.
It would be full of an eclectic crowd, that's for sure.
Oh my God, it would be great, dude. I'm telling you, man, it would be the act of the century. They could hire somebody to write some comedy for them. It would actually fucking be really funny, I bet. Fucking Maxine and Nancy Pelosi live at Caesar's Palace.
I can't post a picture on this thing.
In the
Can't you
breakfast
post a picture on this thing? People always ask that too. Hey, how do I post a picture on this thing? I think there isn't any way to post a picture.
There is a way, Kevin. You can
Only if he signed on.
you have to come on the show first. You have
Yeah.
to click the link, come on the show, and then
During
at
the
the bottom you'll see a button that says present. Then you click the present button, and then you make the appropriate choices. And
And then you don't even have to sign yourself on. You can just sign that computer screen on as well.
right, you can
It
and
doesn't
whatever.
even have to be you at that point. That
Once
would
you
be how you show the picture without you having to be on.
once you complete the process, the picture will pop up over here on my screen, and I can add it to the main screen. It's not really complicated as it sounds.
I thought it was pretty easy.
Yeah, you just
I haven't shared much like that. I tried the other night to share with myself, and I have to go get a computer. I mean, but I have not, and I feel bad that I have still not done it. But yes, I have to go get one. I guess turns out we did get this little Chromebook in 2014. I guess that was a while back.
You all are very lucky. I can't post a picture on this thing.
Want you all to eat bugs.
Anyway, that's the show, guys. I'm gonna sign off. Thanks for coming by, Jared. Appreciate it. And
Well, thank you, sir, for having me on.
Came in tonight. Raul Duke, Kevin Shop, Cecilia Ann. Who else was here? Paul
Open
Gale,
Wanzilla, Leonard Arola.
Leonard Arola was here. Dave Stuff
Dave
was
stopped
actually
in here and said he didn't want to watch that trash.
And
A road score, Paul Gale.
Road Score was here. Yep, Road Score.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks a lot for coming by, guys. I hope you enjoyed the debate, and
Yes,
I
sir.
hope you learned something.
I
Good night,
did.
Jared.
Good night.